All right, good evening, everyone. We'll welcome the September Planning Board meeting. Holly, call the roll, please.
Chairman Mayhood,
Here.
Ms. Nestro. Here. Mr. Craig,
Here.
Mr. Grote.
Here.
Mr. Ruthie
Here.
and Vice Chair McCombs. Here.
Thank you. And we have Mr. and Mrs. Ewing and Richard Winterman with us tonight. So stand and salute the flag, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. Privilege of the floor. Is there anything anyone wants to mention?
I just have one thing.
Yes.
On our website. I got it. For a quick link, this planning board meeting September 23rd, 7 o'clock. This meeting will be conducted online using the Zoom conference. Video conferencing application in person. We should reword that. The meeting is held in person and online is available. Because technically we can't meet online. Our meeting can't run online.
Correct. So we'll just need this.
To reword it. All right, will be conducted in person. And participate.
You don't.
It's probably, they're all worded the same way.
Yeah.
But it's incorrect. So I don't know who, did I leave?
I don't know if it's Eileen or if it's.
Probably
Kristen.
Probably Eileen that made that.
Okay. Okay, anyone okay with that?
Yep.
Clarify. So. So that we want that
Yeah,
on the website.
all right.
Oh,
It just worded incorrect.
It must be.
Because technically we can't meet on.
correct. So the quick link,
The quick one.
reword that the meeting will be held in person and online.
I can call Eileen. if you want.
I
Oh.
think she likes you better than me.
Okay, Birch will take care. Well, it's good. We want to be accurate. Website quick link. Okay, anything else? Thank you, Birch.
I have something, but I'm not sure this is the place to say it, but I know that there is a permit missing on the list because it's our permit that's missing on the list.
The what?
A permit, building permit. It was
On,
on the town of Canada's.
On Joe's.
building permits. Who should I call
When
that?
was it issued?
Mid-August.
So that would be. You'd see the listing in August.
yeah, these are,
It was in the middle of this month. So,
Yes.
but
these are the ones that were issued in August.
yeah, and Howard was issued. It was kind of.
Oh, Joe Miller, the CEO. Just give him, he's the one that he or his deputy put this report together. I'll just remind them that you do have one and they'll get it on the list. Okay. Anything else? Okay, thanks, everyone. And we'll just go into the meeting now on approval of the minutes from the August 26th meeting. Any corrections? The only one I had was the last privilege of the floor, Paul Miller submitted his letter of resignation from the planning board. Just show up as a privilege of the floor item. So last month was Paul's last meeting with us. He's becoming a snowbird and going to spend time in Alabama. More there than here, so. That was the only thing I saw on the minutes that needed correcting. Have a motion to approve.
I make the motion to approve.
All right, with the corrections, right? To approve with the corrections.
With the correction.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, All right, thank you. Good job, Holly. We'll go into reports. Town board met on September 4th. They had the fire chiefs and several people from the fire districts, both Richmond and Hemlock. They gave some updates in terms of past year's performance, number of calls, and some rationale behind. They are asking for an increase. Richmond is asking for an increase in Canadice's percentage of the budget based on the percentage of calls between the towns. And it was minor. It was 6%. Going to increase. They asked for an increase of 6% from Richmond this year, or from, excuse me, Canadice, to get us more in line with the usage of it. Nobody seemed to have a real problem with it. The Hemlock folks also. Hemlock is pushing for the redrawing of the fire district maps, because, and Richmond is happy too, because in some cases Richmond is driving through Hemlock's jurisdiction to get to a fire that they're responsible for. And then the opposite thing on the other side, they go to South Bristol and they go through Canadice. So anyway, they want to redraw so they're not crossing districts. And everybody's been talking about that for about 2 years, but the folks here that night seemed to have some energy about getting that done. So they had a nice discussion, a good update really on that. And by the way, if you're interested, tomorrow night right here is the budget workshop. If anyone's interested in coming to that and seeing, numbers that are putting in the proposed budget for 2025, 7 o'clock tomorrow night right here. Other than that, they had just some regular reports. Not a whole lot going on that they reported on. CEO had his report. Highway department, they're doing third round of roadside mowing. They've been plagued with equipment failures. He said the tractor's been in the shop more than it's been on the side of the road lately, so they're a little behind on the schedule. They are moving ahead to purchase a smaller roadside mower. The one they have has the boom that goes over the guardrail. They want a smaller one that will do the first pass, I guess, off the road, and then use the other one as necessary. So that's in the works. And the new big truck, new highway truck has been manufactured. Apparently the explanation, it wasn't due until spring, but apparently they ordered with standard transmissions for our town, and the manufacturers are having a shortage of automatic transmissions, so they moved ours up. So they're trying to come up with the money to get that paid for. They have to do some budget adjustments to pay for that. They have to pay before they can do any more of the outfitting of the truck. But it's good news that they will have a truck to use this winter. Honeoye Lake Watershed Task Force. They had about 17 algae blooms reported last month, and that was all due to the lake turnover that was happening mid-August, to be expected. Weed harvesting ends September 6th. So that was their report. Other than that, let's see. That's pretty much it. Any questions? All right. County Planning Board. Birch.
Yes, I attended 9/11 county planning board meeting. I was unable to go to the CRC the day before. The only issue that's near us is in the town of Richmond, the solar farm there. The company wants to expand that and kind of double that in size, so they're going through the process.
One down the corner.
Yeah. Yep.
Probably.
They'll be going west from the existing. There's two different properties and they would combine, well. They probably will combine the properties. Right now they're separate. But I think it's basically doubling the size.
Thanks. Questions for Birch? Okay. Zoning board, I didn't look to see if they had met. They didn't issue any minutes, so I don't know what was going on with the zoning board, if anything. Code enforcement, have the monthly report, which Caroline's already mentioned, error in, so anything else here that you want to mention or need to talk to Joe Miller? Joe had COVID, by the way. He was out a few days week before last, pretty severely, but I guess he's recovered. Comprehensive plan, anything for us? Caitlin?
Yep, so postcards are out. Everybody should have received one. We have received 95 responses so far to the survey. 67 people have chosen to subscribe to the email list, which is great.
What was that, 67 people, what?
Subscribe to the email list to start receiving emails from the town. We did amend the contract with Ontario County for services, and that was approved today by the County Planning and Environmental Quality Committee. Another item, actually, I'll save that for privilege of the floor. And then I did send out an email this afternoon. I think we need to push back the original public meeting dates that we discussed. So we'll just chat about that via email and run that up at our next meeting in October.
Okay. Any questions for Caitlin?
What's like the end time, Caitlin, like to respond?
For the survey,
Yeah,
what did we say? November 1st, October 31st?
31st.
October 31st, yeah.
And how many do we expect, or how many did we send out that we would like to have response?
Everybody in the town who owns property received those.
Like 1,000.
So that's around 1,600.
So
Well-
I cleaned up the list. If, like if you own 3 parcels in a row, I only sent you 1 postcard. So I went through the list, and if they had the same name but different tax numbers, I clicked it up. So we sent out 1,067 postcards,
1,060.
and we will do a second mailing about those public meeting dates and advertise the survey on a second time.
So we're not gonna have a public meeting in October.
We are not. No, I'll get the agenda
Regular.
out in the next week or 2.
Okay.
So will we miss people that have gone to Florida now, those public meetings?
Yeah,
Probably.
probably.
Okay.
There will be a final adopting of the final plan. There will be a final public hearing. Whenever the plan is finished, I assume sometime in the spring, so we might catch them on the other end.
Okay.
And I'm assuming we'll zoom it also.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
sure.
Check in that way. Okay. Anything else for Kate? Thanks. Good
Just,
report.
Amazes me how this thing. It's streamlined.
Yes, remember last time?
Yeah.
Under this.
Yeah.
Thank you.
A lot longer.
Trying to keep everybody on track. Everything always takes longer than you would think it's going to, but we're chugging along.
Thank you. Okay, move into old business. I want to mention one that's not on the agenda. We've been waiting for the Clark subdivision down on County Road 36, or excuse me, on County Road 37. I just got the survey maps Thursday. They are exactly what we had approved in the preliminary, if anybody wants to take a look at them. This was the one where you recall there were 2 properties And the house that was on the southernmost property was actually over the property line onto the northernmost. So they wanted to correct that because they wanted to turn them over. They wanted to fix up the houses and sell them. So they couldn't do that as it was. And we went through a subdivision approval in April. And they just got the survey maps to us. So they'll be giving them back to them. I'll record them in the county. Okay. So the next item is the old business is a site plan application for Jennifer. We started this last month. And we had gone through we held a public hearing, opened it and closed it, so that's done. We opened a preliminary review. And we identified several issues, so we tabled the process. But while we were here and there was a need to do some updating of the seeker, we went through a preliminary review of the seeker form that we had, and there were several changes. So that seeker review also has been tabled. So we're here tonight, and I put out a list of the issues that I had written down and we'd recorded. And they're here tonight. They got new maps. There's a nice map in your packet. Simplified, easier for us to see. And one of the primary things on the map was we wanted to see distances, actual setback distances from property line for the structures and some of the other things. That's been taken care of. For my man, small one. Here's a big one if anybody wants to see it. The other things on the map. That was the biggest thing on the map itself. Oh, I asked about the scale, and they put down a clarification. 1 inch is equal 40 feet on the scale. They took away some of the extraneous information, so we can easily now see what the lot looks like or will look like once construction is complete. So I think we hit everything. One thing, did you talk to Ontario County Highway about that, the need for any additional curb work?
We did, and what they want us to do, we actually have an engineer over there. This day, the head engineer. When we do anything that's gonna be in that, when we do anything, it's gonna be in that. In the right of way, we call him, he calls it a permit, it's insurance. So, but we can't apply for that until it's all set. I mean, it's.
Okay. Okay,
Insurance company.
we'll do. When work begins. Or when it's scheduled, when Ontario County Highway Department. When work is scheduled. So, yes, go ahead, Steve.
In regards to the map, and again, thank you, very nice. You don't get something. Very nice. It's a curiosity's sake here. When I just look at the front setback to the lake, it looks like it's 57 feet from the covered patio to the lake. So front setbacks, are they, is that the building itself that they always take into account, and like, because it looks like, because I see the full patio in front. And it looks like the 57 feet goes to the corner of the covered patio.
Right. That's what the setback is to the actual structure, not to an in-ground feature
So
like
those
this.
things are excluded.
Right.
Okay, I was just curious. I thought they were.
Yep.
Again, all the documentation provided. Thank you.
Yeah, well, it's not on here. We did question the building height and they submitted a new set of drawings. And so it meets the regulation on the building height, so that was okay.
It should be on the bottom of the map.
Is it? Lot coverage. Oh, yeah. Yeah, we're about 34.5 feet. And they're allowed 35. Thank you.
Vaulted ceiling and roof.
Thank you for pointing that out. That's the height?
What's for a 20-foot?
All right. One thing I wanted to make sure is we had some sort of a schedule in terms of how the work was going to be done, in terms of when they're going to demolish. They submitted, I didn't give you, oh, yes, I did. I gave you the copy of the agreement, which spells out the progress. First house being demolished, second house being constructed, third house being demolished, and outbuildings being, so it's all very clear. It's an agreement between the town, our town supervisor signed it with them. So that took care of that one as well in my mind. The third one that I had on the list was the proposed shop. And we talked about having some service utilities to that. And would that qualify or make it classified as a residence? We referred it to Joe, our CEO, and he said, no, he said, it doesn't matter as long as they're, sewer, water, electric does not make it a residence, only if they have designated living space, sleeping area or living space. And they're not proposing that at all. So the proposed shop is okay. It's not a second principal use, which would have been the case if it was a residence. So that one's okay. I have a copy of the CEO's email where he stated that too, if anybody wants to see that. Okay, the driveway we got. So those were the things that I had written down. Is there anything that anyone wants to bring up at this point? Make sure your mic's on.
Just a question, and this is mostly just for my education. Is that watershed area, why does the city of Rochester have to figure in to this agreement? I don't get that part.
I'd love to join them. We're gonna
Yeah,
have- The city of Rochester actually supplies. the
Right.
They are they're the supplier.
they're the supplier.
So
the
they
vendor.
say
Okay,
that there's kind of two separate things. One is that moving of the water. So, but moving that water, will need to be involved, they need to decide.
Okay.
They have to do the inspection. That's.
Oh.
But they're, with this whole thing, so we pulled everybody in. They need to keep their using it, fine. All they're doing is taking the, moving it from the, moving it out.
okay,
down.
okay. I was, in my head, I was thinking
And the-
watershed.
Yeah,
Why, but I
right,
wasn't thinking
right.
they supply
It's
the
not the
water.
watershed.
Yeah,
it's
the town doesn't have its own water department. They're the operators of the town's water
Yeah,
system.
they contract with the city to operate the system.
Okay,
So instead of, as a small town, we can't really have our own water department. We don't have enough qualified staff. So the city are the suppliers of the water. And then they're also the operators of the system.
thanks.
Good question.
Where does Monroe County Water Authority fall?
They're a separate entity from the city of Rochester.
They don't supply us or Richmond. They're a
Okay.
separate supplier.
That would just be if some of the other segments of the whole water.
In the county, they provide water to other towns.
Okay. Okay.
Yep.
Probably more with that charity.
Don't know how it's divided up. Any other questions, comments?
So in addition to the site plan, we're doing a re-subdivision or we already did?
We already did that.
We
In
already did
fact, when we get done here, I want to make sure you folks are set with me giving the re-subdivision form to the assessor at the termination of tonight.
5985.
House is gone, right? Properties need to be combined into a single tax map number. Yeah, we did that last week as part of the review. Yeah. So. Seems like I had something else, but I can't remember it. I don't have it written down, so.
I thought last month, Ted, that number 2 on the form, you checked no, you changed it to no. Does the proposed?
Oh, you're on the seeker? Okay. Are you on the seeker form?
Yeah,
Okay, hold it just a moment. Let's make sure that
oh, okay.
we get this approved at this point. Is there anything else that we want to ask or need to see?
I think that maybe what you were thinking of that you didn't write down was we wanted to see the water and sewer services and they have added those.
Oh, that's right. Yep, saw those on.
So
Okay, yeah, that was
addition
on my
to
list.
the-
Yeah.
In addition to the main, we'd wanted to see the services
Yep.
and they've added them for both the shop and the house on the map, so.
Connections. Okay, so at this point, what we would need is a motion to grant preliminary approval to the site plan application.
I'll make a motion, we grant.
Okay, thank
I'll
you. Is there a
second.
second? Caitlin, any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Okay. Now let's go to the seeker. We'll reopen the review of the seeker form. Jennifer made out a brand new form since we had all those corrections and everything. And so let me find it. See what the question is. Okay, what was your question?
Oh, actually, it was question number 1. I thought in August's meeting, for the first question, does the proposed action only involve the legislative adoption of a plan, blah, blah, blah? I thought you had changed that to no last month. At least that's what I notated.
Well, I changed it to no, but in our discussion here, it was pointed out that the zoning board did
Oh.
have to grant a variance. And so we said that the
Oh,
answer to that should have been yes. That's
Yeah.
what should be on the new form, right? On your. form.
Yes, it is a yes. on
And the
form.
description here is that it was done by the zoning board of appeals. They had to grant a variance. Okay. So questions 1 through, well, the beginning, the project name, it's a new home build, combining 2 lots. Relocating the water main, removing both homes, building a home, and then 2 accessory buildings. Anything, any questions on questions 1, on part 1 through 25? 1 through 20. Any other questions? We did go through them last time. Jennifer put it all on the form. Everything looks good. Stormwater, did have a question and we re-verified with the Ewings that they're going to make sure that swale on the south side is cleaned out and adequate to handle any runoff from the new construction. Someone had raised a concern about water coming from across County Road. That's really outside of our purview. But they're going ahead and looking at maybe mitigating some of that as well. But for our purposes, the runoff, any water from the driveways, the buildings are going to be directed towards the swale. And that's going to take care of that. Send it down to the lake. So that's the question on stormwater management here. Now, Steve?
Steve's snoring.
Okay.
Blaming the dog against.
Okay. I know the. Anything else on questions 1 through 20? Like I said, we hit it pretty hard last time. So now we'll go to part two. After discussing the questions of part one, we have to read through these and determine if there's any impact on these issues based on the answers in part one. So you want to read those, Birch? As
Sure.
usual? Thank you.
Will the proposed action create a material conflict with an adopted land use or zoning regulations? No. Will the proposed action result in change in the use of intensity of use of the land? No. Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of the existing community? No. Will the proposed action have an impact on the environmental characteristics that caused establishment of a critical environmental area? No. Will the proposed action result in adverse change in the existing level of traffic or affect the infrastructure for mass transit, biking or walkway? No. Will the proposed action cause an increase in the use of energy and if it fails to incorporate reasonably available energy conservation or renewable energy opportunities? No. Will the proposed action impact existing public-private water supplies, public-private wastewater treatment utilities? No. Will the proposed action impair the character or quality of important historical, archaeological, architecture, or aesthetic resources? Will the proposed action result in the adverse change to natural resources, e.g. wetlands, water bodies, groundwater, air quality, flora, and fauna? No. Will the proposed action result in an increase in the potential for erosion, flooding, or drainage problems? No. Will the proposed action create a hazard to environmental resources or human health? No.
So based on those answers, there are no environmental concerns based on the input. So we move to part three. And this we have to, by motion, either declare a positive or negative effect on the environment. So based on the answers, I would suggest that we would have a motion declaring there's no negative impact on the environment to this.
I'll make a motion to that
Motion.
effect.
Birch, second. Caroline, second. All in favor?
Aye.
I opposed. Thank you. Check this. That is the end of the seeker, so we have moved through preliminary approval, seeker, and the public hearing. So at this point, the next step in the process is to open the final review of the application. Get it by motion.
I'll make a motion to open the final review.
I'll second.
White, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. So given all of the discussion we've had and the responses, there are no outstanding needs that have been identified and not been addressed. So at this point, I take, make a motion to grant final approval.
I so move.
White, second. Caroline, last chance. Any other discussion on this? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Carried. Thank you. Excellent. So what I'll do is, like I said, I have the form for the combining of the two properties. I'll give that to the assessor. I'll make sure Joe, the CEO, knows that it's been approved, and we'll give Joe one of the final site maps. And you folks are done with us. Nothing else that we require this department, just work with Joe on the code.
Great.
Well, thank you all so much.
Yeah, thank
That was a pleasant experience.
It was an experience.
Thanks for the feedback.
Hey,
Have a good evening.
You too.
You too.
Anybody feel free, swing by and see what's going on.
I drove by the other day and saw that vacant spot there where the house was.
Down, it's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, thank you
Have a good
again.
evening.
Have a good night. Bye.
All right, that moves us to new business. We had a response to our need for opening for a planning board member. This is Rich, is it Rich? Richard, what,
Rich is fine.
Rich? Okay. I included his letter, but Just a few extra questions, if you don't mind. Kind of give us a little rundown on your background, if you would, what kinds of things you've been involved in.
So one thing that I think is very relevant is that when I was raising a family, I lived in Penfield, New York.
Yep.
And if you put any amount of money on a table and said, where is Canadice? I wouldn't be able to tell you.
That's a good thing.
I understand the mystery of the town, but the Boy Scout troop that we got involved with actually owns land here in Canadice. So we were very frequent visitors coming down and camping on the 34 acres that the Boy Scout troop had access to. And, you know, things just moved forward from there. I was on the board of directors for a sportsman's club in Monroe County. And the president of that club is actually my current neighbor who lives across the street from me, Wayne Schicchetti. I never knew he had a property there. And then one day he had said to me, we were in Penfield, and he said, you know, the place across the street from me went up for sale and I think you should buy it. And so that was, you know, I'd already known about the area with the scouts and really liked the area. So I became a property owner in town. You know, the property was not the best, so I spent several years renovating the property. And then, as luck would have it, I wound up moving in full-time in 2017. I worked by day as a sales rep in the electrical industry in Rochester. I have been doing that for as long as I can remember. Not this particular position or with this particular company, but being in the electrical industry in Rochester, New York has been my entire background of employment. So I guess it's somewhat of a technical field, which I think would help with, you know, the mapping and the setbacks and the utilities. The city of Rochester being one of my very good customers. And I've actually had a tour of that water facility that feeds that area. So they're very proud of it, and they take good care of it. But other than that, you know, things are quiet. I go to work, I work in my yard, I work on my house. It's a very simple, peaceful existence.
So are you affiliated with like RG&E or Niagara Mohawk or not Niagara Mohawk?
So I actually work
National
with
Grid.
end users. So I calls on towns, school districts, universities, hospitals. They have their own relationship with the utility that I don't really want to be involved with at all because the utilities are a little crazy these days. But, you know, they have maintenance needs or they have projects that they're looking to, you know, purchase material like these lights or other such electrical products. And I help them with that.
This is more of a go ahead.
No, I should agree.
This is a kind of a general, but you support and respect the US flag, state, town, and federal laws. You know, we have a lot of code here. Make sure that people are at least aware that we have a code, especially prospective members. You know, we have a code and we are required to use the code as a guiding principle when we do application reviews. We have no problems or concerns with that.
I have no problems with that. And throughout my career, there's a national electrical code that also governs what people can do. And, you know, that comes into play very often in my career and my day life. So I would not have a problem with that whatsoever. And I also would like you guys to know that Supervisor Bastolas has given me like a PowerPoint presentation from the New York State Department of State. And I was able to locate over the weekend their YouTube channel where they have all sorts of lectures and education. And so I'm almost halfway through my first webinar with the state.
Yeah, you want to make sure, because you need 4 hours of training. You want to make sure you get a certificate for each of your
So I think they mentioned something that because it was recorded, you cannot get a certificate. But as far as, immersing myself in what they're talking about and what things are important to pay attention to, I'm just trying to get a little bit of a head start before the formal training that I would attend in person.
Ted, do we typically, when somebody starts this late in the year, do we prorate or waive their training
We would,
requirements?
if the town, I will request that, because we'll put forward a recommendation to the town board for the appointment, and I will ask for a waiver of the training requirement for this year. So to be,
And especially if
2
he's,
months.
if he's doing, training on his own where he may not be
And-
qualifying.
He showed me, he's gone through the Genesee Regional Planning Department, their presentation on planning and zoning as well, so he's really interested in, and I told him to memorize, as soon as he gets the book, chapter 120, 108. Okay, questions for us, you understand, so the requirement is to have a minimum of 4 hours, you can have, town pays any fees within reason, we don't usually go to New York City for those training sessions, but any others, pretty much, the town will pay for. And the town does give us a stipend of $48 per meeting attended. Usually do that at the end of the year, close to the end of the year, we get that payment from us. Anything else you wanna ask?
Yeah, I started 3 years ago, about the same time, in September. And I did the 4-hour course on the web in December. I don't know if they're gonna have.
Yeah,
that
it was the
again.
final one that
So
the
that's
New
what
York
I've-
Planning Federation came up.
Yeah.
What I do is, I don't know how many of these you get, the New York Planning Federation notices, but I always forward them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have webinars, a couple a month, they're 1 hour credit each time, each one. At the end of our meeting, there's what I left on your table in front of you, there's a Monroe County holding a 4-hour session on land use and seeker in October. If anyone needs the 4 hours, but let's see, October,
There's one this Wednesday, the 24th.
it's tomorrow. There's one tomorrow. It's not Wednesday this week. Tomorrow's the 24th, yeah.
But there's a number of options, both webinars and in person.
In person.
A lot of the webinars they kind of do at the lunch hour, like 12 to noon, so people can do them from home.
Yeah.
And there are some recorded ones that have been approved by the Planning Federation that they have like a list of topics and you email them and say, I need for this one.
Mm.
And then once you've completed it, they'll give you a certificate. So those you can really choose the topic that you think is most helpful to you or you're interested in learning more about. And it is flexible to do it on your time. And they did just change it to that you can roll hours over. So some of them are like an all-day training. You could get 8 hours in one day. So if you did do that, you'd be good for 2 years.
Most of us don't have any problem getting the training because they're usually something often enough that interests us. There's usually a spring and a fall all-day session with different topics. Speaking of that, little side, I took the Learn at Lunch last week, geophysical information.
Oh, that one
systems.
looked interesting. Was it technical?
Oh, the person describing it even said, this is crazy complicated. She's kind of an expert on it. She's a planning board member downstate somewhere. I'm not sure, it has a lot of information available. I'm not sure what it has that we would use, but anyway, I thought if we ever need it, maybe somebody in that county who knows what, but it was really, I sat through it. I sat through it. I had no idea.
The county does
Please
have
say
somebody
it
on.
through it.
I
staff.
suspected if we needed information that was only available through that, we could get it from the county. So not all of them are, real low level.
There's
Like
a wide
Just a
variety of
sidelight, but it's my 3rd hour. Okay, Anything you want to ask, Rich?
You know, that actually brings up a good topic. I've only been to 3 or, maybe 5 meetings, if you include ones that I've watched on YouTube. And most of them deal with subdivisions or the outline of a new building versus what the outline of the old building was. Does the board have jurisdiction over a geothermal installation or solar installations at residential properties?
Yes. The town board has delegated the review and approval of subdivisions, special use permits, and site plans to the planning board. So anything that requires that comes to us for approval.
But geothermal wouldn't,
Geothermal,
and residential solar would not unless there's,
well, residential solar doesn't require a site plan. It just requires a building permit. So anything that only requires a building permit directly to the building department.
Okay.
But, so what we typically deal with are subdivisions and a couple of site plans throughout the year. And we don't normally have a lot of action, we have 6 or 7 subdivisions a year, maybe 1 or 2 site plans. So it's not like we're reviewing things every month, although like with the Ewings, this 3 meetings to get through because it was a complex project. But yes, and since they have delegated that, town board cannot overrule us. The only recourse someone would have if we deny something is to go to the zoning board of appeals. That would be the appeal process, but the zoning board has the authority to approve or deny.
And you might be interested in some of the training sessions that are about the case law.
Yeah.
And it tells you what other boards have done wrong and they got in trouble for it.
Okay.
A lot of them are much more complex projects than we see, but I think they're just kind of interesting. One of the training sessions I did this year, it was a little dry, but it was, I think, good
Yeah,
information.
you mentioned that. So we're trying to make sure that our process conforms to the town code and state code. We don't always do everything perfectly, but we're trying to tighten things up a little bit relative to what we've done in the past. As far as,
And we're all human.
Documents.
There's a reason we bring our code books because
yeah,
we
Oh.
are like, oh, wait, what's that say? Or
That's
a
right.
question will come up and we're flipping through them.
okay.
Okay.
I guess I would entertain a motion to recommend the town board that they appoint Rich Winterman to the town planning board as a regular member.
I'll make a motion. I'll second.
Okay, Steve Grohl. Any other questions, discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Thank you and welcome. So you're not on the board yet,
I know.
until the town board, but they meet the second Monday of October. And at that point, they will approve it. And then you'll have to come in and take the pledge with the town clerk, and get a copy of your code book. Give them your information. And sometimes, when you have a chance, we keep I keep a roster of all of the planning board members, so I guess I guess it's all here. Address, phone number, email, okay. And what will happen is you will be appointed to fulfill the remaining term of Paul, who you're replacing. And when that is up, if you're interested in remaining on the board, we ask the town board to reappoint you, and that would be for a 7-year term. So since there's 7 members, 1 membership expires each year. But the first year you'll just complete. I don't know, Paul.
He just kind of
Paul's-
re-ups about a year ago.
Oh, that's right. I think his is probably on.
It's about 6 years, I'm guessing.
Paul Miller. 2029. That's when you do.
Well, I
That's
won't
down
have
the
to be
road.
campaigning for anytime soon.
Oh,
I have with Steve Endorf's, because I'm fulfilling his.
Caroline. 30.
30.
How did that?
I'm finishing Steve Engard's position.
I have 30 on there.
What's he up for
20,
I think,
reappointment?
I think he was up for reappointment.
Oh, there you go.
Cause yeah, that's the
2030.
one, that's the farthest
down the
one
road
out,
on that
that's
one.
6 years out, so yeah. Okay, so you're here until 2030 or longer. Okay. With that, final privilege of the floor.
I have a couple things. There was an interesting presentation today at the County Planning and Environmental Quality Committee. The County Planning Department did a survey of all the code enforcement officers in the county. Many of them are very close to retirement. Many have retired, many are very close to retirement. They're having a lot of concerns about filling those positions. We had a hard time filling our code officer position recently after a retirement. So they did a really interesting survey and they gave a short PowerPoint about it today. Anybody who's interested, they said they were gonna distribute the PowerPoint to all of the supervisors. So just reach out to Supervisor Vestal. It just really kind of went through like, you know, how many duties do they have and what are their concerns and what, you know, what training are they lacking? I just thought it was interesting as we work closely with the code enforcement. I thought you guys might be interested.
Yeah.
The other thing I mentioned last time, the county landfill, the lease for operations is expiring in 2028. The OC landfillfuture.org website has lots of information. There's podcasts and videos on there. There are a number of public meetings this week for anyone who's interested in learning more about that report. There's one tomorrow at the Town of Geneva Town Hall at 5 o'clock. There is one Wednesday, and that's going to be an online webinar via WebEx at noon. You do have to register at oclandfillfuture.org. That one will be recorded if anybody wants to watch it at a future date. And then on Wednesday at 5 o'clock, there will be another meeting at the school in Bloomfield. Both of the in-person meetings will have a half-hour presentation, and then they'll have stations where you can go around and learn about the four main topics from the landfill alternatives analysis study.
So it's all kinds of information about the current landfill and operation.
So it's about the history of how we went from having every town had their own online landfill where people dumped stuff, and what we recognize now are actually wetlands and, you know, kind of critical environmental areas, but were viewed as undevelopable areas. To having a county landfill, how the Board of Supervisors came to that process. Actually, before the EPA even existed, the Ontario County Board of Supervisors recognized the environmental impact of managing waste responsibly. So it talks all about the history, talks about current operations, it talks about some alternative uses for that site, like managing organics through composting or solar, some things like that. And then there's a section which I think is very interesting, future scenarios. So if the landfill closes, what's the financial impact to, you know, your garbage bill at your curbside, or if you use a transfer station? And it really breaks that down by each individual municipality within the study.
Thank you. Yeah, go ahead, Steve. That's your mic on?
Yeah.
Okay.
We were talking about RG&E and they call it night Mohawk. I saw it yesterday morning on the news, the average increase. Did anyone see that? The average increase? Cause I saw they were putting in for a rate increase. National Grid said the average increase for the homeowner would be about $18 and change a month. So,
Really?
yeah, really, and yeah. And they mentioned one for RG&E, they're having one also that was like 12. When they said 18, so I said, holy cow, that's a lot. But I guess maybe we've been fortunate because we haven't had one in quite some time. And then the other thing, at the end of this year, it'll be 22 years exactly that I've been here, and I think I'll take the same approach as I did with the county. And probably bow out at the end of the year. It'll be 22 years, and it's just,
Yeah,
I feel like my usefulness is coming to an end. I
Well-
just feel that way.
I don't think so.
I feel it. I just feel it, and I think that's so basically I give like a 90-day notice. You know, best I can do. Not for any reason, not health or anything like that. I'm just
See when.
it's been a while. Well, they just
Have no choice.
just got
Steve
reappointed
Grohl,
last
that's
year,
it.
so I'm good till 2030, but it's like, oh my God.
That's right, 23.
Yeah,
Wow.
I looked at my resolutions today and I think, whoa.
I wonder if you mixed up. Steve
Yeah, I
Grohl
think
and
I
Steve
missed up.
Agard.
Oh.
I missed up.
But when I started, it was January 1st of 2003. And that was when Butch Lee was Emery, I think it was Emery Drake, they call him, but they
Yeah,
call him
Emery.
Butch, yeah. So when he resigned, I took over effective January 1st of 2003. And so this would be 22 years and I don't know, it's just move on to something else. So I'm sorry, but I think Kai would still like to keep coming. She seems to fit right in. She's disagrees with her.
Still like her.
Yeah, disagrees with her. That's all I
Okay,
have.
well, thank you for the info.
And thank you for the training things that are coming along, Ted. I'm glad I mentioned that one today because I had it in my mind Wednesday, so.
Well, they normally are Wednesdays. but
So that'll be
it's tomorrow.
2, and if any that you see, and I'm still trying to get the certificate from the first, but I'll get it eventually, but I think that's one of the things that's,
Okay.
I'd like to do this thing, but it's like, oh my God, you get out at 9 o'clock, I'll
This
never
one's
make
up
it.
at,
it's tough to
the
get home.
FCC at 9. It ends
Yeah,
at 9.
it's just I know you could walk out earlier, but I don't know, I guess I'm done with that type of stuff too. Driving in the city and coming home. Just done. But I need 2 more, so keep them coming, Ted, and
I'll keep sending them out.
I appreciate it.
Okay, anything else? Motion to adjourn?
I so moved.
Dwight, is there a second?
I'll second.
Caroline, all in favor?
All right.
Bye.
Aye.
It's home to that Bills game, right, Dwight?
So I'll get you a schedule of our meetings. We meet the first Monday, or yeah, the fourth Monday of every month, except December, and that's the third one. But I'll let you know what the schedule is, and